Welcome to the Motoring Podcast, your weekly discussion of motoring news. This is episode 672 on a Tuesday, the 24th of February, 2026. Hello, I'm Alan.
Hello, I'm Andrew, and this week you'll hear us hope that one company has found their tape measure. In new car news, you will learn how one company really wants you to know that their car now comes as a hybrid. And in points of interest, we hope you'll be thinking of a better future. But first, we have a smidgen of follow-up, and it involves Tesla, so sorry about that.
It's all right. It's great for the clicks.
Last week, Tesla lost their appeal against the $243 million award for the fatal accident that killed a couple of people that was using the autopilot assistance system. Tesla said that it was unwarranted to be that amount and they should never have been found partially responsible in any way. However, the judge was quite damning in their response to this because they went on to say, and I'm quoting here, the grounds for relief that Tesla relies upon are virtually the same as those Tesla put forth previously during the course of the trial and in their briefings on summary judgment. Arguments that were already considered and rejected. Lads, you just said the same thing again, maybe in a slightly different order, but the decision is still the same. How much are they paying the lawyers?
I would say probably too much, but that tends to be the case, doesn't it?
Tesla's argument was that all the blame rested on the driver.
Of course it did.
Yeah, which naturally. And the expectation is that they will now take this to the 11th, is it circuit? I think it is in America the way they do this, the 11th circuit for appeal. So they're going up the next rung to appeal again for, I don't know what their argument's going to be this time.
Probably the same again.
Yes.
But there we go. I'm sure they feel that's worth it.
Yeah.
New news then. Big news coming from the EU. And what they're attempting to do now is to tie EU subsidies for vehicles to Europe First rules. EU is preparing legislation that would require electric vehicles to be assembled in the EU and source at least 70% of their components locally to qualify for the appropriate state subsidies. This could pave the way, says Electrive, for a formal bi-European industrial policy recently called for by, surprise, surprise, Volkswagen and Stellantis. Who'd have thunk it?
Mercedes have said, please don't do this, by the way. They've been very vocal going, be careful.
Yes, it is very much a be careful because Volkswagen and Stellantis don't build EVs or anything for the European market abroad, outside of the EU. So I'm thinking North America and Asia, whereas other brands like Mercedes do.
Yeah.
Mercedes, Volvo, that kind of stuff.
Because this all centres around that they want 70% of components to have been manufactured in the EU to be used on building cars in the EU, but they are exempting batteries, which is interesting.
Because everybody's stopping building battery plants in the EU.
Yes, as people or as regions begin to cool and in some cases actively run away from the decision to go all in on EVs.
That is a potential problem for the UK because, of course, we are no longer in the EU, in case anybody hasn't noticed that. And on the other hand, there are sort of mutterings that maybe we could get closer again, maybe some proper trade links and trade ties. But, of course, because politicians are wetter than a bucket of sponges, nobody's actually saying, look, this has all been really quite a bad idea and we need to wind back chunks of this because no politician can ever say that another politician was wrong, it seems.
No. We should find out more about this actually tomorrow as we record. So that's the 25th of February. They will be publishing the Industrial Accelerator Act, in which the new rules will be part of, allegedly.
Sorry, who's publishing that Industrial Accelerator?
This is the European Commission on behalf of the EU.
On behalf of the EU. Sorry, I wasn't sure if that was... It was such a ridiculous name, it could quite possibly have been from the UK.
No, you see, we are not as special as we think we are. Other people can be idiots too.
Oh, gosh.
Right, I'm going to move us on, and I am going to take us to the news that Renault has now agreed to acquire FLEXIS, which is the light commercial electric vehicle company the joint venture they helped set up in full. They will have agreed to take control of the company from the Volvo Group, as well as the logistics specialists CMA CGM, which I'm glad I don't know what that full name is. But Volvo Group will continue to be a strategic partner in all this.
Worth mentioning, Renault Trucks, of course, is part of Volvo Group, not part of Renault Group. Just for those of you following along at home with this.
And Volvo Group is not Volvo Cars.
Yes, exactly. Hence it's light commercial, so it's Volvo, it's Renault up until the kind of Renault Master level van. Nothing bigger or heavier duty than that, despite the fact there are variants of the Master which then are sold by Renault Trucks. They're heavy duty but have the little smaller cabs. I'll stop now.
Yeah, but they're going to deal with the distribution of these electric vans when it comes to the point that they are ready to go to market. Have we started to see have the latest electric vans from Renault been part of this, do we think? Because I don't know enough about the light commercial, and I forgot to ask Phil Huff, who is the expert in all vans that we know and friend of the show. Or is that the next generation?
I think it might be the next generation because this one involves the skateboard-style chassis and stuff. CMA-CGM stands for Compagnie Maritime d'Affrètement and Compagnie Générale Maritime, the Maritime Freight Company and the General Maritime Company.
Okay. And people say we have an overly descriptive name of our podcast.
Yes, I know. Well, these French companies are very good at that, and then they turn it into an acronym, and everybody's meant to know what it is.
I don't know really why this has happened.
Me neither. I think people just want to I'm going to put my consultant hat on and say focus on their core competencies. Maybe Volvo groups decide that they don't want to do smaller trucks and vans. Renault have decided they really do want to do smaller trucks and vans, and CMA, CGM are going, because French.
Anyway, do you want to take us over the border and into Germany?
Yes, there's a little bit of moving around. There's some moving around in the Volkswagen Group. We'll talk about that later on. But there are some changes going on within Audi. I'm going to say Audi Group, the subgroup within Volkswagen, because effective from the 1st of March, the Chief Technical Officer of Lamborghini, Reuven Moore, is going to take over as the head of technical development in Ingolstadt for the whole of Audi per se. This is happening because the current CTO, Jeffrey Bucco, I'm getting all the French today, is leaving the company. There's an Electrive article linked in the show notes. It is quite an interesting article, not really because of the people and stuff, but more because of what it says and what it doesn't say.
Yes. The phrasing is very telling, one feels.
Yes. I'm going to quote the quotes themselves that are within the Electrive article. And I think these are from the Audi CEO, Gernot Dollner. He says, over the past 2 years, Jeffrey Bucco has reignited the Vorsprung durch Technik mindset and successfully initiated the transformation of Audi R&D. He strengthened the organization, advanced cross-functional collaboration, I'm not making this up, and laid essential foundations for the next phase. Because he's spoken to people. And then it says, then there's a paragraph here that says, the reasons behind Bucco's departure, or why he had to leave, can most likely be inferred from the qualities Audi highlights in his successor, Reuven Moore. And then it goes on, Reuven Moore joins us as a distinguished technology expert who combines in-depth know-how with a clear focus on long-term value creation for Audi, says Manfred Doss, chairman of the supervisory board. That's who it is. He previously applied his broad technical expertise and in-depth development experience to lead complex transformation projects. I think maybe they had someone who was good with people, but wasn't very good at the whole TO bit of it, is what I'm inferring from that.
Or not the TO that Audi was expecting.
Yes, exactly.
And it's very rare for Electrive to be to phrase things quite as they did there, what Alan actually read out there.
I think that what we've to infer from this is there's a steadier hand at the tiller when it comes to sort of development of new Audis. I think that's really what I'm understanding from this.
But Cariad is still in charge of the software, isn't it? So bearing in mind Cariad is separate, what does a chief technical officer have to do for Audi now?
So the entire vehicle isn't software defined, and I think that part of it is...
excuse me, wash your mouth out with soap and water. You cannot say that today.
I know, hang on. Let me do it with this with some beer.
In this car industry. You cannot say that in this car industry. All cars are software defined.
Yes, but in order to have software, you have to have requirements, and you have to know what you're talking about whenever you're forming the requirements. I think that this has been... And if you want me to get on my high horse, and you probably don't, but this has, I would imagine, been a significant portion of the issue so far, in that requirements haven't been clear, they haven't been thought through, because so much stuff previously, when everything was mechanical, it was just knowledge within the company. You could just say, well, I want the ventilation controls like this. And so they would make the ventilation controls like that. But now you've got some little guy at a desk who's never seen an Audi, let alone sat in one or driven one. And they're being handed this list of requirements. They don't know. They don't know that you're meant to light them up so that they can be seen in the dark. That was just always kind of something that happened. It was just something that Audi did, or Volkswagen Group did. And now I think that there are different requirements have to be written in a different way. They have to be phrased in a more explicit manner to be implemented in software. You have, things that are just mechanically inherent. To mimic that, you need to understand the way the mechanisms work in the most detailed form, and then explain that to somebody else so that they can form an equivalency. And I think that's the kind of stuff where, and I'm working from my understanding of what happens when you're doing corporate transformation, by the way. And I think that's where the challenge is. I think that's where lots of companies have been falling down, is that, frankly, sure, they've been great at requirements management. They've got doors experts everywhere. But I think that the requirements for a software style of stuff are different. They must be more explicit. And that's probably what's been missing, because otherwise there's too much wiggle room for people who aren't really car people, aren't really mechanical engineers.
I think you're describing the entire car industry and software-defined vehicles.
I think I am actually describing the entire car industry, by the way.
Anybody would like to hire Alan via the Motoring Podcast to help with your consultancy, if you get in touch via the contact page on the website.
Yeah, or maybe find my employer. He would probably be up for it too, as long as I don't write any more LinkedIn posts relating to cars.
You'd be allowed to now.
I would be, yes.
Anyway, I am going to take us now to Devon and Stagecoach. You remember them. We only talked about them the other week. They are actually rolling out now 110 electric buses in Devon. If you remember the story we talked about, they had a problem where they discovered, after deploying an electric bus, that it was too large to safely operate on a couple of the routes that they had thought it would be fine for. Well, now they are going to roll out these 110 buses across routes from Torbay, Barnstable and Exeter. And they will also be adding new charging infrastructure in those depots. I really hope someone has checked things this time, because it's going to be quite embarrassing if they do this again.
Yes. Still stares or infers here on Electrive that the companies are looking to set up alternative stops nearby, but I don't know how long that was for, or whether it's still happening.
Well, it's going to be forever unless they get smaller buses.
Yes.
But the good thing is, there is 110 electric buses in a county outside of the southeast. This is a nice thing to see.
In fairness, there are a lot of electric buses around here. I've said that before, but I'm sure in part that's because, of course, Stagecoach is a Perth company. Group headquarters is just down the road. Meanwhile, back in London, because of course everything's happening in London, TfL has awarded Total Energy, I've got the French story again, a deal for 43 rapid chargers across London. These are going to be fast charging points with 100 and 200 kilowatt power. This is the second order that Transport for London has made where Total Energies have been selected. And the good thing about these is they will be installed across London. There is another provider also in London for TfL, and that's called Zest. It's already installed around 40 rapid charging stations for TfL to date. Those, Total and Zest, are the only two rapid charger providers in London, it seems.
I'm not so sure, because it talks about further down in the article, it talks about how up to now, there are 27,980 public charge points, which includes 1,550 rapid chargers.
Yes.
But that is not to say that, or that is to say that the two that you've talked about may be the only two that TfL have contracted.
This is it.
And then the problem becomes, because of what we were talking about before we pressed record on the show, of how fragmented the coverage of London is, thanks to the small councils that decide that they must have their fingers in a pie as well.
Yes, the ones I was thinking of just there were the BP. I know there are BP Pulse ones around as well.
Yeah, so they could be like private public charging points, as it were, as opposed to employed by councils or local government.
Exactly. Well, those ones are in a Q Park. Q Park Park Lane is the one I was thinking of, which is a fantastic garage and fantastic parking place.
Mm-hmm.
Park at Q Park Park Lane, everyone. It's both car parking and a little museum visit at the same time. It's good to see these rapid chargers going in. They're really intended for use by high mileage users, commercial users, taxis, freight.
Yeah.
Rather than car owners, because they would expect you to charge for less money at a lower rate charging point, especially outside your home or nearby.
And also, if you're in London, the chances are you're using your car less anyway.
Well, exactly that, yes.
Anyway, I think that brings us to the end of the first part, Alan.
Yes, and it's Guilt Minute, quick break in the show where we ask for a tad of financial support, keep the lights on and the hosting running. If you feel the Motoring Podcast is worth a small consideration every month, then you can become a patron. Different levels of patron include different levels of commitment from us to you, including being able to watch the show recorded live. We also have a small range of merchandise in our spring store, from stickers to mugs and t-shirts. If you don't have any spare cash, and we completely understand, then you can help us by following for free from our podcast player to receive every show as they're released, and by liking, rating the show in whatever way your podcast supplier lets you. If you've done all of that, and many of you do, thank you very much, then the last thing you can do is to recommend us to your friends or colleagues.
Thank you, everyone that does. Very much appreciated.
Absolutely do.
Right, new car news, and I'm going to start with the Omoda 5. But not only is it just the Omoda 5, they are now bringing it as a hybrid option. And we know it is a hybrid option because it is called the 5 SHS-H, which stands for Super Hybrid System Hybrid. They really want you to know that it's a hybrid.
I think that they're missing a huge trick here.
What's that then?
And they should copy BYD, and they should have it. They should bring out a model called the Omoda Dragon.
Does feel like it is a bit of a missed opportunity, somewhat. Yes. However, whilst they harp on about how much of a hybrid the hybrid is, when you look at the technical details, it is a 1.5 litre 4-cylinder turbo petrol engine. No problem with that.
Mm-hmm.
And is going to have an electric motor powered by a, now brace yourselves, 1.83 kilowatt battery. And that's charged by the engine because it's a hybrid, not plug-in hybrid. It's so just above a mild hybrid that they're not even quoting any mileage on electric-only range.
This is true, but they're also pointing out that the efficiency now is 53 miles per gallon, up from 34 miles per gallon of the petrol.
Yes.
Omoda 5, which is also less power.
Mm-hmm.
That's not so bad, really, is it? No matter what size the battery is, the thing that people will see is 53 miles per gallon. And that's what matters, because, frankly, you're not going to be buying an Omoda 5 if you really care about the intricacies of the engineering.
Well, it depends, doesn't it, on whether you are going on the upfront cost or the running cost, because the upfront cost, this new SHS-H will be just under £2,000 more than that petrol-only Omoda 5,
mm-hmm.
but it is $5,000 cheaper. So are you looking at the upfront stroke monthly cost,
uh-huh.
or are you looking at how much it's going to cost to run as well on top of that, where there is almost 20 miles per gallon difference?
If you can get both, then isn't that an absolute win? It seems this is incredibly well-priced vehicle, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely. If you can afford the 25,740, you win twice, as it were.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering how much people are looking at running costs until they get the car and then start going, hang on, I'm filling this up more regular than I used to.
I don't have an answer to that.
No, but that's why I'm just, yeah.
Given I drove the GRMN today, and since I filled it up about 30-odd miles ago, it is quoting me 24 to the gallon. And that's my economical car.
Oh, you really are trundling around then.
Yeah. Well, it has been a little bit now.
Yeah.
I'll sort it on its way to its MIT. The most expensive trim for this, by the way, the Noble trim. It comes with a land speed record holder in the boot. That's a really powerful one. Adds an overhead parking camera, heated and vented seats, and an 8-speaker Sony audio system. How funny to see audio systems named, manufacturers named.
Again.
I know. You don't see that very often. It's normally only if they're very high-end, if they're Bose, I think, generally.
Well, do you want to take us on to something that is a slightly more than the Omoda's 25.5 grand?
Yeah, well, do you know how we were talking about the Omoda and we were saying what a tiny battery it has?
Yes.
Here is a car that has an absolutely massive battery. It's a new Audi RS5, which is the successor to the RS4. And because Audi is so good at the whole naming thing, the RS5, by the way, is no longer a coupe. The RS5 is now an estate.
Yeah, isn't it? Odds are now estates and
I don't know. Yeah,
saloons.
But they were, and then then they put it back again, and then they changed it back. So I don't really know any of it. So I'm not quoting it.
Yeah, I can't keep up. So not only do you need the 7D chart for working out what models are where, but we now need it to be live action to keep moving as the names change, thanks to whoever it is on the board that owns the name badge company that wants a bit more money for their Christmas bonus.
I think you've even overdone the cynicism on that one, to be honest, but you're not a million miles off. I can't say it's complete rubbish. Anyway, the RS5, or the RS, is it RS5 or RSS?
RS5.
No, it's RS5. Sorry, sorry. Further down it says RSS. It is powered by a twin-turbo 2.9-litre V6, which then is matched with a 22 kilowatt-hour of usable capacity, so it's obviously bigger than that. But as it is, that's 11 times larger than the Omoda 5 hybrid. And a 174 brake horsepower electric motor mounted inside the gearbox. And that gives you 510 brake horsepower from the engine. With the electric motor involved, this plug-in hybrid produces a combined 630 brake horsepower, a leap of 166 brake horsepower over the previous generation. The engine itself has raised fuel injector pressure, new variable geometry pro turbos, which are water-cooled to reduce the intake temperatures, all of which is meant to improve responsiveness. The only downer I can see on this is that as a result of all of this battery and all of this engine and all of these turbos, it now weighs 2,370 kilos, which is more than my Lexus.
Right, okay, so 3.6 seconds from 0 to 62.
Yeah.
In something that's
top speed of 177 miles an hour.
That's not that far off nearly 2.5 tons.
Mm-hmm. That's why you spring for the carbon ceramic brakes all around, which are a mere £6,000 option. But it does save you 30 kilos of unsprung weight. Worth mentioning that in town and roundabout and for day-to-day stuff, that monster battery allows you 50 miles of electric-only running.
Which is decent.
That means it's viable for many company car owners, which is decent, more than decent. It does all sorts of awesome stuff.
There's a lot of talk in this article about how they have basically eliminated understeer, which might have been a criticism pointed at faster Audis in the past, perhaps.
Sorry, I've just got to the bit. I hadn't looked at this. The designer of Wolf Siebers, the bit from him. This is well worth, the Autocar write-up is well worth a read. And Siebers says, we asked how big the exhaust can be, and the answer was yes. We considered going slightly bigger or slightly smaller, but this is really extreme. But so the pipes have to reflect this and fit the overall proportions. I think you could lose small dogs in those exhaust pipes.
Yes.
The only other downside as well as the weight, though, is the price. And prices will start from £89,400. If you go for the carbon black variant, which it says introduces various carbon fibre elements, that springs to £95,400. And if you want the performance Vorsprung, which has extra tech and the higher 177 mile an hour top speed, then you're going to be springing at least £107,400. And if you so desire, customer deliveries will begin in June. It's all a bit much. In fact, it's a lot of everything. It's technically wonderful.
Yes.
I saw somebody on social media comment that basically this was an EV and an internal combustion powered car in one, and as a result, that's why it was so heavy. This is sheer brute force.
Yeah, we are going to get round physics by punching it in the face.
But it's the same as the Bugatti Veyron. It's that same approach of we are just going to engineer our way through everything.
Yeah.
As opposed to the Lotus Exige approach of less, lighter, thinner, smaller.
Well, I think we can no longer tie in Lotus. I think we have to call it the Near Khan approach. Trademark.
Sure. I made sure I qualified which Lotus I was talking about. I think that's...
No, I know. You were right. Anyway, I am going to move us on to something which actually is a bit more...
It is a Lotus Exige.
Well, a bit more what we're after.
Yeah.
Although the price tag really is not. And the radical Bertone Runabout has finally made production.
On a point of order, just to point out that radical is a description.
Yes, sorry, it's not.
And it's not radical is not the manufacturer. This caught me out earlier on.
It's not the name of the model.
No. The Bertone Runabout, which is radical, has finally made production. Oh, what grammar pedants we have become over the last decade.
We've had to. No, it's because we've got such great listeners who pick us up when we miss these things.
Yes.
Anyway, this is going to have 469 brake horsepower. It's only going to cost you around about £400,000. And it is an Exige underneath. And the body on top is
not
just frankly sublime.
It is so cool.
Absolutely gorgeous.
Well, it's styled after the 1969 concept, which kind of turned into the Fiat X19.
Yeah.
But obviously it's a bit longer and wider. And significantly more powerful because it's got more than the original 1.1 litre Auto Bianchi engine that the X19 had. I mean, it makes 469 horsepower for starters, and it weighs, I don't know what it weighs.
1,180
kilos. I hadn't looked at that bit before.
Two of them is still not the RS5.
Yeah, you can have two of these. It's still not, yeah.
Okay, you don't get to 62 quite as quick as it's at 4.1 seconds, and it only goes to 168 miles an hour. I mean,
But look at those front wheel arches.
I know, it's amazing.
The wheel arches poke up above the rest of the bodywork. They hug the wheel. I was going to say literally hug the wheels, but they don't literally hug the wheels. The DRLs at the front, those pencil thin ones round, you can choose what colour you want the bisecting strip to be. It's so cool.
It is. If there's one of the articles that you should open this week, if you can only pick one, make sure you pick this one. All the cars that we've picked have merits of their own, and they are aimed at particular segments of the market,
which are not going to cross in any way, shape, or form.
No, there is no crossover. This one is targeted at our hearts, but not our wallets, unfortunately.
Absolutely. Designers mood board. We hinted at this earlier on. Volkswagen's brand design boss, Andreas MINDT, is going to be taking on a wider role within the Volkswagen Group, again from the 1st of March. He's going to be replacing Michael Mower, who has been the group design chief for the last 8 years over 2 stints, or for 8 years over 2 stints first, beginning in 2015. Mower is also stepped down as head of design at Porsche, if you're wondering why he might have been mentioned on the show recently. He's leaving on amicable terms as part of a generational transition, according to Volkswagen.
So huge payoff.
Yes, this is a massive golden parachute. MINDT, on the other hand, has led Volkswagen design since 2023. He's transforming the brand's design. It says transformed here. I don't think we've quite got there yet, particularly with the incoming wave of EVs, so replacing the ID3 and 4 and 7s and stuff, which are all a bit lobby, with the ID Cross and the ID Polo. He was previously design chief at Bentley and Audi as well. Yeah, joined the group back in 1996. You've seen a presentation by him in person.
Yes.
And you said he seemed like an incredibly, I think, to quote Andrew, safe pair of hands, unquote.
Yes, I did use that cliche. However, yeah, it was, I acknowledge that it was a presentation, and I acknowledge that it was a corporate presentation to us.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, some of the language, but it's how he said it as well. He was introducing us, and this was a couple of years ago or so, to what is now the ID Polo, but it was just a static model at the time, and he talked about specific design cues within that really followed through on the heritage of the Polo and Volkswagen, and was one of those key steps away from the ID type separation of electric, and it was trying to bring it back into, no, but we are Volkswagen.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore these cars need to represent that we're Volkswagen, and people need to go up to it and go, I want a Volkswagen and I'd like the electric one, which looks like a Volkswagen as opposed to something different. And he came across really well. He delivered very well. He answered the questions really well, and he was very amiable and happy to chat to people on a casual basis after that as well. So I think this is a good move. He totally understands the heritage of the group or of Volkswagen brand, and I'm hoping that will then get translated to the group, because I think some of the brands themselves have got themselves a little bit lost in terms of design.
Yeah, there's a little bit.
I'm thinking Skoda, really.
Skoda's got a wee bit bling, but nice cars.
Well, they've just gone a bit bland, whereas they never used to be bland.
You see, whereas I would say that about Audi and Seat, but there we are.
Well, Seat's the economy brand now, so they need to do something different, like Dacia do. Cupra's latest editions worry me.
No, I saw that somewhere.
Little SUV that's the coupe SUV.
They were saying, well, what if, was it Cupra design language? Was like, what if tribal tattoos were a design language?
Yes. Okay. That's very good. Wow. Yeah.
I can't remember how we were talking about that on social media, but yes, that was. I can't remember who it was that said that. It was someone who potentially listens, so I'm really sorry if I can't remember who that was, but it was good. It really tickled me.
Send your angry Blue Sky post to Alan. Hopefully it makes a difference. However, he's coming in a really incredibly difficult time for Volkswagen Group, where they are talking about saving yet more money on top of all the billions they've already had to save for seems like every 6 months we're announcing that we have to save billions of dollars or pounds or euros. And you're thinking, is this on top of, or was this the previously announced savings, or is this and?
I've come to the conclusion that they just keep talking about the same savings. It's the same pound, dollar, or euro that's been saved 30 times so far. I just don't understand.
Yeah, there can't be that many roofs let to be on fire, can there?
Yeah, you can't just keep cutting and cutting and cutting, and I know companies try to do that, but if you do that too much, you end up being General Motors.
Oh, don't be that bad. Or Stellantis.
Oh, no, at least they do it with style. In Europe, mostly.
At the front and the back. Anyway, let's move on to points of interest before we get ourselves into trouble here. And let me start with this week. We're going to bring a lunchtime watch. And this is from the Morsels and Motors channel on YouTube, which is Siôn Hudson. And it's titled The Renault 5 Then and Now, comparing the 1972 original, the 1984 Super 5, and the 2024 EV. They've all come together on his driveway, and he's chatting about them. It goes through the history and stuff. It is 32 minutes and 16 seconds long. It is a lovely watch, and just a fabulous bit of time just losing yourself in finding out about these cars.
It's really interesting seeing so whilst the electric 5 is very different, but seeing what styling cues from the original car come right through. And there's loads of stuff that I learned and noticed for the first time of cues which I kind of thought were always there, particularly between the original 5 and the Super 5, and that they're not, or that they were introduced, or that they're actually completely different, totally and utterly different. But then somehow your brain makes you think that it's still the same. And then how that's all come across into the 5.
It's a bit like the filling in the missing letters in words. When you've had that like trick done, you make the thing. I saw, and I know this is dark grey metallic, but I saw a dark grey metallic Renault 5 EV, and I saw it at a distance, and I just glanced, and I went, "Oh God, there's a original Renault 5." That's how And I've not done it with any of the other colours. Even the bright colours, I go, that's an EV, that's the EV.
No, Andrew. This Renault 5 is very old. That Renault 5 is far away.
Yeah, exactly. But just when you're glancing, because you're paying attention to the road and you glance, and then it came close and I went, that absolutely, that colour.
Mm-hmm.
And they've got gorgeous colours. I had a green one for a week. Locally, we've got a yellow one and a white one. They look great. I think they have nailed the design on the EV, the Renault 5 EV. But the grey one just seemed to capture. It seemed to be that time capsule that sort of shrunk and expanded between 72 and now. So astonishingly well. And I wish I hadn't been driving and I could have just walked around it and looked at it from different angles, just from the way it just grabbed my attention like that.
That's good, because I've never heard you be super enthusiastic about it before. So.
Oh, I love the design.
Anyway, so there you go. Go watch that Morsels Motors channel.
Yep.
It's 32 minutes. Yeah, 32 minutes of Sean. And apart from that, there's lots of Renault 5s.
Yes.
List of the week this week, then, is the best motoring events for car enthusiasts in 2026. Here, says Motoring Research, are the best motoring events for UK petrolheads in 2026.
Now remember, this is going to be events that are larger and more well-known that people come across the country to visit. You will still have, dear listener, events locally as the weather gets better cropping up. So keep an eye out for them and do pay those attention and attend them.
Mm-hmm. I need to find ones around here. There's one somewhere just into Fife, I think. There's holds them on a Sunday morning month or something.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, out of this list, Andrew, are there any that you would make a particular effort to go and to join?
Well, there are many I would like to attend, because this goes, like it says, it goes through the year. However, I would love to be able to make it to is all the way in September. There are tons before then that I want to go to. And it's the John Haynes Classic Motor Show at the Haynes Motor Museum on the 6th of September.
All right.
I would love to attend that, because I would love to go to that motor museum. I've been remotely in the area many times, but just not had the opportunity to stop and visit.
I've never been either. That's one of the few big motor museums I haven't been to be honest.
Well, don't forget they were refurbishing for quite a while.
That's true. I'm going to blame that then.
Yeah.
It's also far
and
away.
It's an incredibly long way from you.
Yes. The one I'm going to choose is far enough away from me, thanks very much. Rustival at the 18th of April on the British Motor Museum. The reason I'm choosing it is because I've got a ticket and I know I'm going to be there. Well, my plan is to be there anyway. Rustival there. I should be there. I think I'll take the Grim this time. Took the Lexus last time. And everybody went, why has he brought this back?
Fingers crossed that the weather is great for everyone there.
Yes. It was most of the time last time.
That is one I do need to get to.
It's good. And it's, nice people who've done it. Who've organised it.
Of course. Of course, we like the people who do it, organise it. Right. Well, continuing the theme, which we decided privately between ourselves, was let's try and put stuff out looking forward in the year, because the weather has been so shockingly awful apart from today here. I don't know about how it was for you.
Been all right.
But you haven't had to grow gills today, so that's an upside.
Yeah. It's
been so horrifically bad. And then you look at, just casually waves arms at everything else. You go, let's look for some more positive things to try and anticipate. And this is from last year, and it's on Haggerty, and it was written by Charlotte Fowden, and it's 5 creative road trip ideas for summer 2025. Completely relevant now. Still relevant. And it is different ways in which you could create a road trip around a core concept. And I think these are fabulous. I love the ideas of some of these. There's a couple here that I think I'd love to do. But you do need to go and read the article. I don't want to read it out. It's almost like another list of the week.
Almost, yeah.
Yeah. Although potentially we are doing the last one on this list, the final.
Following my stomach.
No, keep going down. Don't say it out loud.
Okay, that one. Okay, yeah. I knew that anyway. I knew what we're talking about. I've sort of fused bits of these together in the past anyway, especially when I was in the US.
Mm-hmm. The
first summer road trip, the big one, because I discovered that 6,000 miles in 2 weeks is quite a lot of driving. Was that I watched Close Encounters of the Third Kind on the plane on the way back from the US to visit folks at the start of the year, and thought, I wonder where Devil's Tower is and how far it is. And by the time I'd watched the film and got off the plane back in Boston, I basically sketched out where I wanted to go on a road trip that summer. And the rest of the summer was just refining it. And that was because I watched Close Encounters of the Third Kind. But then there were other bits of that road trip which were then inspired by books I'd read. Bill Bryson, partly. And stuff like that. And things I wanted. You know, I've ridden the escalators at the Merle Mall as a result of that. You know, the next big one was off to, basically starting from Florida right the way back up to Boston again, and that was inspired by wanting to go on the Amtrak auto train that runs from Washington down to Orlando and wanting to see a bit of the South and coming up through there and stuff like that. Just find a point of inspiration and all the rest of the pieces will fall into place. All of a sudden it's so much easier to decide what you want to do and where you want to go.
Yeah.
I went to the Rocket City Trash Pandas.
Think slightly differently at it, and it will hopefully encourage you to be able to take a trip.
Yeah.
And you can just do it in a day as well. Just maybe a day trip.
Mm.
Doesn't have to be a big, long, mega experiment, but you could do something in a day locally, possibly.
As I say, films are a great way of finding locations and things. And there's, nowadays there's so much stuff is online that explains where film locations are and all these kind of stuff. So if you've always liked, sort of thing the other day, but it was locations around some Gateshead and stuff from Get Carter. Now, I know that the car park isn't there anymore, but that kind of thing, can they do it? Even going to London, you don't have to be driving, to be perfectly honest. There's loads of sort of car-related film stuff there and loads of things, loads of inspiration like that. Postcards is one of my favourites from this.
Yeah, I like that idea a lot.
I thought that was kind of nice, yeah.
And I like the drive through the night idea. So there we are. We've effectively just gone through the whole thing for you, but do read it.
Essentially gone through it, but there we go. But it's a good one.
But I like that, and I like the. It just feels like the weather's been so grim. Everything's been so grim and unrelenting in various forms. I need something to look forward to. I need to plan something. I need to do something instead of just moaning. I need to be proactive.
This is a dig at me, everyone.
No. It's not you. Irrespective of what we've got planned, irrespective of that, I need to do something because otherwise, I'm just going to be miserable, and it's just too much.
Yep.
Positivity. That's what I'm looking for. Even me.
Hell yeah.
I think that's the end of the show now.
I really do think it is. Anyway, don't forget, folks, on which massively positive note. Don't forget, between now and next week, you can give us any feedback, share your thoughts of the show at motoringpodcast.com on Blue Sky, at Motoring Podcast on Instagram and Facebook, and on the contact page of motoringpodcast.com, the hub of all our activities. Remember, you can support us financially via Patreon, and please leave a review and rating on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or however your podcast app lets you do such a thing. Andrew, in the meantime, if people want to share in your positivity and tell you where to go, what's the best way to do that?
LinkedIn is the best way to do that at the moment. You can find me under my name. And Alan, if people would like to be positive with you, what's the best way they can do that?
I am absolutely certain that it's Blue Sky is the best for me, where I'm at AJP Bradley. That's BRADLEY at bsky.social. We will be back next week, but until then, I've been Alan Bradley.
I've been Andrew Clues.
And safe motoring.